Today's Nat Chats is more of a Nat Rants. I'm going to talk about why I think the recently announced federal and WA state government building and renovation subsidies are terrible policy. Now imagine in the last 10 to 13 years, you as a young person with the encouragement of your family decided to stop renting and buy your first home. You're now part of the great Australian dream and you're on the property ladder. You may have bought and established in a city unit, or you might have decided to build a new house in a newly established estate like Ellenbrook or Baldivis. Your parents probably went guarantor on your loan and you might have borrowed as much as 95% of the purchase price. But that was all okay and you felt comfortable in doing that because, as everybody says, property doubles in value every 10 years, doesn't it? And paying rent is just paying somebody else's mortgage. That was the wisdom. Then the mining boom went bust, immigration rates into the state started to reverse, rents went down, the first homeowners grant for established dwellings was withdrawn, and property values started to backslide. If you built in an outlying suburb, you started to look around and realise that you could now build a new home for substantially less than what it cost you to build yours. And that unit that you bought, because it was much closer to the city and you thought it was a better lifestyle investment, well, it was no longer attractive to first homeowners because they couldn't get their grant anymore to buy it. And it also wasn't attractive to investors because rents had started to plummet, migration rates had stalled, and the Banking Royal Commission meant that it was much harder for investors to lend money. Happy days, not. The upshot of all of those changes has meant that the Great Australian Dream has become the Great Australian Debt Trap for many of WA's first home buyers. Saddled with properties that have reduced in value, sometimes by up to a third, sometimes even more, they simply can't afford to sell. And now here we are in 2020 and COVID-19, and the federal, followed by the WA state government, in their capitulation to the powerful building industry and seeming preference to seize on a short-term fix rather than use an unprecedented opportunity to implement long overdue and much needed structural taxation reform, between them introduce up to almost $70,000 in incentives for new building and renovation. Suck that up, previous first home buyers. The irony in all of this is that the socio-economic demographic and generation that can least afford it are being asked to take a further hit to their property prices to prop up the building industry because politicians are avoiding doing the real policy work that they need to do. This group have already borne the biggest brunt of WA's housing slowdown in terms of percentage, and this is simply poor policy that is going to punish them even more. Here's hoping the state and federal governments realise sooner rather than later the economic impact and hardships for this group that they've created, and that they find the courage to tackle and implement proper reform that is going to benefit all, starting with stamp duty. Rant over. Have a great day.